Welcome to The Good Pod, where today we talk on The Good Wife, Season 2, Episode 13, Real Deal. I'm one of your hosts, Jason Reed. With me, as always, Marissa Garza. Marissa, you good?
In this moment, yes, I am good. Are you good?
I'm good. I'm
Okay.
okay. I'm good.
Okay.
And this moment, I'm good as well.
Okay.
Season 2, Episode 13.
Yeah.
We're just trudging along. Things are happening. Things are moving.
I think things are moving. I think we're picking up a
Yeah.
little bit of speed between last episode and this one, for sure.
For show. Before we get into the nitty gritty of the episode, let's talk about how you, the listener / viewer, can help us, the little podcast that could.
Yeah.
If you want to support this podcast, you can do that in a couple of free and easy ways. You can always leave us a review or give us a rating over on whatever podcatcher you're listening or watching us on. Leave us 5 stars on whatever rating system you are associated with there. We would really, really, really greatly appreciate it. Also, make sure to subscribe on whatever podcast you're listening to or watching us on. You can always hit the follow button and it will let you know anytime we have a new podcast episode coming out. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that follow button, that thumbs up button to let people know that you liked what you saw. It will help us get into more eyes and ears everywhere you watch and listen. If you want to just chop it up with us, give us feedback, leave us comments, questions, you can always email us at thegoodpodfeedback@gmail.com. We thank you so much for supporting, rating, and reviewing us wherever you can.
Yes. I mean, and even if you just want to get in contact with us, the goodpodfeedback@gmail.com will always be up and running as far as Gmail is up and running. So we'd love to hear from you.
If need be, we will switch to whatever other email is.
Yes, we will let you know.
Whenever that is. But yeah, Marissa, let's talk about Real Deal. Lewis Canning is back.
Canning. I didn't expect him to come back so quickly. Yeah. Did you?
Yeah. No, not at all. I was shocked when Michael J. Fox appeared back on my screen.
Yeah, it appears.
I wasn't surprised.
Yeah. I feel like anytime there's class action, we need to be on the lookout for Lewis Canning because this is a pesticide class action where there was pesticides in a neighborhood and it ended up causing a lot of miscarriages for the women in the neighborhood. So when a class action happens, like firms can go gather up a class to represent, and they are in the process of doing this. Alicia is doing her most suburban mom-ming that she can in the situation.
We can tell why
pie. She was. Yeah. She's saying,
we know why she was sent in. Yeah, we know why she was sent in behind enemy lines. So like persuade these people because these are Alicia's people. Alicia is one of these. Definitely used to be one of these people. A mom, a housewife. So I get why she was sent in to appeal to these people.
Yeah, and she's talking to someone who would be in the class, and she's like, well, my friend called and said, well, before I sign with you, I need to go hear about this other lawyer. And Alicia's like, oh, other lawyer, can I go with you? Is that like something that I could do? And I loved the reveal here because at first I wasn't even thinking about it could be Canning. I was just like, oh, another lawyer. And then you walk in and Michael J. Fox is Michael J. Foxing so hard. Mm-hmm. He is being super charming. He is saying all of the right things and, sees Alicia and Alicia's, they're old friends. Don't worry. There's not going to be any lawyer fights. But then he says one thing because one of the women empathizes with Lewis's condition by saying it's not like an equal thing at all, but like my husband hurt his leg and then he couldn't drive while like Lewis has a condition and he can't drive. But this gets Lewis to say, that's what America has more than any other country. Acceptance. And I just got to say, in 2025, there are some things about The Good Wife that have tracked, right? There have been some things that still stood the test of time. This was one I could not get behind.
It's like, yeah, don't look into a crystal ball there, Lewis Canning, to see what 2025 is all about. Because I don't know if you can say the same anymore. but yeah, like it was so funny because Lewis Canning is doing his thing, right? He's introducing himself while also introducing his condition. He's like, I have what is it called? targetive dyskinesia or something like that.
Dyskinesia, I think. Yeah.
Dyskinesia. Yeah. So he's like, he's doing his shtick of like, if I move like this, I move like that. It's not because I'm scared of Miss Floric. It's because I have this condition. And you can just tell, look on Alicia's face, like, oh brother, like this guy. And I love when, because as we get the intro to all this of like the pesticides are buried in them, whatever, to cause whatever. We get this sweet lady, I think her name was Julie, she's talking to, and she like had a whole nursery for her baby all ready to go, but
Yeah.
she had a miscarriage. And then like she hears about the lawyer, and on the way to the lawyer, Alicia's calling whoever, probably Will, of course.
Will.
She's like,
Yeah.
ha ha ha, like these idiots. They sent somebody with a driver and a car. This is not going to appeal to these people. Like, they're not going to fall for this guy's shtick. She doesn't know at this point this was Canning that he needs a driver, and so because he can't drive himself, she's just like, ha ha ha, we got this in the bag. And the look on her face when she sees this Lewis Canning, she's like, oh crap, here we go.
Well, and she tries to even like put that in front of the people, right? Like she's like,
Mm-hmm.
what law firm are you working for now, Lewis? And he's like, just me. It's just me,
Little old me.
And then she goes, who pays for the driver outside? And he's like, well, I guess that would be me because I can't drive because I have this condition.
Yeah, it's like, Alicia, why would you do that? Like you fell right for his trap. Like you fell right for
Yeah.
like getting him more sympathy. Like I don't know why she even did that. Like, all right, Alicia, like you should have known better than that.
Yes. Well, they are in front of Judge Abernathy to figure out how to handle this case. Yes.
Something hit me about Abernathy. Do you remember Abernathy, and where have you seen Abernathy before?
Other than The Good Wife?
Yeah.
No. Where's he from?
Oh, Marissa. We talked about this show.
What show?
This Is Us.
Oh, where was he? Who was he on This Is Us?
He was Randall's dad's lover.
Oh, he was. He was.
Yeah. I don't know why, but it hit me while I was watching this. I was like, wait a minute, that's that guy. That's Jesse. What's his name?
First of all, you said we talked about the show. We talk about a lot of shows, but we podcasted about that show. That is true.
Yes.
I love Judge Abernathy. I just love him so much. He, first of all, wants to tell the court, like, don't forget there's a blood drive outside. If you're a blood owner, become a blood donor. Making sure that everybody knows. And this is Lewis Canning's first time in his court. So Lewis Canning's like doing his whole introduction again. And Abernathy with his empathy and everything. It's like, well, I commend you for even being in court. And you can see like Diane and Will and Alicia are just like, oh my god,
rolling their eyes at this disabled man. Like it's so the picture of it is so funny because you have these people like rolling their eyes at this disabled man, like, oh my god, this guy again, and his disabled illness shtick again. Like it's so funny how like they're just like just so disgusted by this man and his disability because he keeps using it to his advantage. It's just like, oh, we get it, you're disabled. It's so funny.
Like if you did not know the story, yeah, it would be like, what are these people doing? Why are they doing this to this man? And Will tells Abernathy, like, hey, like Canning, I think is just a Trojan horse. This is what happened last time we went against him. He went and he made, the offer lower, taking away money from the victims. So this is what I think about this man. And Canning's like, yeah, I was that guy, but I quit because I saw the error of my ways, which is right into Abernathy's like ethos, right? Like this is like, okay. And in true Abernathy style, he's like, well, whoever has the most people in 4 days is going to get the class. Like that's what I can tell you. That's what I'm going to do. So see you in 4 days, but don't forget to give blood.
Yeah, in the most democratic way, he's trying to make this decision. And it's just funny because I mean, let's remember the last time we saw Lewis Canning, right? Was when he was representing a pharmaceutical company, and how whatever ways like made our heroes accept a lower offer than what in his estimation they were going to get. So as our heroes are describing, like this is something this guy does all the time. He comes into these class action lawsuits. He gets the people in the class action lawsuit to accept lower than would normally be accepted. So like they probably still feel burned by Lewis Canning, especially since at that time they thought they won, and Lewis Canning came in and was like, Yeah, nah, bro. You actually took 50 million less than they would have given you. So you
Yes.
actually lost. So our people are still pretty burned by that. So they are pissed at Canning as part of this, and they know what his shtick is. And at this point, they're pretty sure that while he's not admitting that he is part of the pesticide company, that he has been sent in by the pesticide company to get a lower offer, they at this point think that's pretty much what's happening here.
Yeah, because later Will is like, hey, class action by one lawyer, like that's really hard to
Mhm.
fund. Like that's a lot of resources. He's gotta be doing something. So who else is gonna figure this out? Who are they gonna put on the case? None other than Kalinda. So we get Kalinda. She's found out that Canning's renting a house. And so, which seems weird to her for some reason. Gonna go find out if there's a co-signer. So Kalinda becomes reporter Kalinda.
Yeah, and it's a very expensive house. So it's just like, how could this
Yeah.
guy who is being, who's going out on his own, because that ain't cheap. First of all, how can he afford to go out on his own? How can he afford to get this nice big house? So something's obviously up here.
Yes. So she goes to the door. Canning's wife answers, like, "Oh, we were expecting you. Like, hi, come on in. I'm here to answer anything. We've got kids running around, all this stuff." It's a very like wholesome little environment that she's in. Kalinda has to go to the bathroom. Never believe Kalinda when she has to go to the bathroom. She
Well, I mean,
sneaks.
it's important to note that Kalinda is coming in posing as a reporter. Like
Correct.
she's not coming in being like, "Hey, I'm an investigator." She's like, "Hey, I'm doing a story for this and that, so I had to gotta come in and ask you about your life and see what the heck is going up with you."
Yeah. And so Kalinda goes to the bathroom, but ends up going into Canning's office and finds a piece of paper with 27 equity on it. At that point, Lewis Canning comes home and he's like, I know who you are. Like, you don't have to pretend. I was expecting this. Like, I knew Lockhart Gardner would come after me. Um, and he keeps up the reporter thing for his wife when he asks his wife, like, why don't you tell Kalinda why I quit? And she says, well, Lewis was so great. I had a miscarriage and that's why he quit. And Lewis is like, doesn't that sound like a reason why I would take a class action about miscarriages? And so Kalinda calls Alicia. And this is like, I think, like a very this is what's wrong with America type of situation
Okay.
because Alicia is primed to not believe that this is what happened, right? Like she's like, no, he couldn't, like they couldn't have had a miscarriage. She couldn't have had a miscarriage. He's using the situation. This is what's going on. And Kalinda's like, that is a reach. Like that is a lot to say, like that this man is doing this, is having his wife lie about a miscarriage. Like that is some pretty dark stuff.
Yeah, Lincoln's
But
like, listen, I'm pretty dark. That and I'm saying, Alicia, that's dark even for me. Like you are being this pessimistic about someone saying that they had a miscarriage, like because Alicia's like, no, they're lying. It's a story. Don't believe him. Like, damn, Alicia, Jesus, like because Alicia, for what? Let's not forget how burned Alicia feels by Lewis
she,
Canning.
yes, very
Lewis
burnt.
Canning played the dirtiest tricks in the book you can against Alicia on their first meeting. So Alicia is just primed to hate this man. So whatever this man says, she's like, nope, not true, not happening, not a thing. She's like, never happened. She's like, even if it did happen, he's still being a jerk about this. I don't care. I don't care if his wife miscarried or not. He is still a dick. He is still being shady with this.
Well, and when the reality is like both things could be true. He could still
Yeah.
be being an asshole and he still could have had a miscarriage in the family. Like
Mhm.
this
Yep.
both things could be true, but because of Alicia's experience and everything, she's like you said, like really primed to just be like anything this man says is a lie. Like he's using
Mhm.
anything to his advantage. Yeah. To which we do see a little bit of Canning's true colors come out when one of the people that Alicia was getting to sign into the class decides to sign with Lockhart Gardner and also hand over nanny cam footage,
Yeah.
which we will talk about a little bit later. But that really does show like Canning hasn't changed. Like Canning is still, saying things to get what he needs in this
Yeah,
in this
because
situation.
because you find out like is for some reason Canning is getting information about where what Alicia's doing, where she's going. So it's like, what's going on? And yeah, Julie
Yeah.
is the one that's like, hey, like he tried to sign me, but I'm sticking with you guys, but he was saying some pretty effed up stuff about your firm. And so that's where like in like you said, we'll get into all that
Nanny
nitty
cam
gritty a little
stuff.
later.
Yeah.
So it's like something's going on with Canning. So he's like I said, he's using all the tricks in the playbook to try and get them to sign with him.
Yes. Meanwhile, Kalinda found out that 27 Equity is a hedge fund that is financing Canning. This is something that will stay with the series and like go into the good fight is like how lawyers fight the cases that they are being asked to fight and what interests it's very similar to what we were talking about last episode with the super PAC, like taking money from an outside interest and how that can influence the case or the campaign or anything like that. So basically, Canning was hired by a hedge fund to fight this case. So it looks like he's not connected to anybody or any
Well,
entity when this hedge fund actually can earn money if the case goes a certain way.
yeah, and this is how Canning is basically funding everything he's
Yes.
able to do. He's getting money from this hedge fund to finance this case.
Yes. Back in court, it's been 4 days. We're back in front of Abernathy. Everyone has given blood and kept their sticker for 4 days to show Judge Abernathy that they
But
had
no,
given
like
blood.
if you cop it, like Alicia comes in with the stickers, she like delivers the stickers. Like Slate probably didn't even like give
No,
blood. Alicia went down
no.
there and just like stole stickers or like, yeah, put these on because like no one actually gave blood. We just need to make him think we gave blood. And Canning did the same exact thing. Canning also has a sticker on as well. It's like so
Yes.
funny how they can like try and like persuade a judge this way because Abernathy, if we've learned nothing else, is someone that can't be swayed by
Yes.
doing these things.
Yes. And due to Kalinda's investigation, Lockhart Gardner had found out that Canning was at the pesticides company to see about a deal earlier in the day. And so they're basically telling like Abernathy, like, hey, he's doing stuff out of bounds. This is not great. And again, the conflict avoidant, which is very interesting to be a judge, Abernathy says, well, I'm just going to marry these two classes. You both got 40 people. So you're one
Yeah.
class together. And there is a lot of objection from both sides of the court.
It's like, hey, don't make me put you in an oversized sweatshirt. y'all fight out like that, like two kids squabbling. But
Yeah.
like, I thought it was interesting because Canning basically kind of admits to being a Trojan horse at this point. He's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but I got an offer. I got an offer of $2 million, which is like nothing to
Better than
sneeze at.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you guys can have that right now, or you can go with Lockhart Gardner and fight this thing for 5 or 6 years and get your money then. So like he's trying to argue like, all right, but yeah, I got you something better than what you got right now, so why don't you take this deal? Basically kind of showing his true colors at this point, like, yeah, I am kind of a Trojan horse, but is there anything
It's
wrong with
for the
that?
good of the people. It's the good of
You're
the
gonna get
people.
money, so that's what you want, right? So I mean, hey, but it's like, would you rather 2 million by what 80 people, or do you want to fight for that like 40 to $50 million? That's the question here.
Yeah.
So at this point, we kind of get more of the motivation for Canning and what he's actually up to at this point.
Yes. And this whole time they've been questioning like how has Canning been like how did he get the deal before them? Like how was he a couple steps ahead because he was also stealing people from the class. He was really working it. He knew some things he shouldn't have really known. And Kalinda found out that there was key logging software on Alicia's computer. And so this is where it will track every single keystroke you have on your computer and basically send it to somewhere else so that they know what you're doing move for move. And Will is like, okay, well, let's not overreact here. Let's not take it off the computer. Let's use this. Let's have Alicia send an email to Diane saying, I think we get $75 million. And Diane reply back saying, I think we want to go to 85. And if this is
Mhm.
true, then we're going to see like a reaction from Canning. Like Canning will
Yeah.
have something to say about this.
Yes, I mean it's kind of an ingenious way to kind of trap Canning into doing what they want him to do, which is kind of like the reverse of what Canning did to them the first time. So it's like it's a good way to A, confirm that this is what's going on, and B, try to get the offer pushed up. Because if Canning knows or thinks they're pushing their offer up, then that will kind of make him go to J&L and be like, well, we kind of need to push the offer up to make it look to kind of erase the gap a little bit. So it makes total sense. And bravo to Will for coming up with this great strategy.
Yes. So now all on the same team, all on the same side of the table against the pesticide company's lawyer. Canning is still trying to like keep the lowest deal. Like he's still
Mm-hmm.
trying to undercut Lockhart Gardner in this situation. And Alicia has a talk with him outside of the room saying, like, don't you have any compassion like for these people? And what's interesting from Lewis Canning is what he says next. He says, I don't owe them my compassion. I owe them my ability. And that is what I'm doing. I was like, okay.
But is
You
it the
could do
best
both.
of your ability? But is it the best of your ability though?
Yeah,
Like it seems
exactly.
like you're putting in some ability, but not the best of your ability. Like you're giving them some money, but not as much money as you could get them. And
Yeah.
I think it's interesting because like Canning's in there like, he's telling the pesticide company like, we just up it like a little bit. It wouldn't up the offer to a little bit. They're like, no. Will Dye's like, no. Like, we that's not what we're doing. Like they pull Canning aside, like, what are you doing, bro? And Canning's like, what? I thought we were doing good cop, bad cop. They're like, no, bro, you are undercutting us. Like we see what you're doing. Cut that crap out. Like it's so funny how they're on the same side, but they're both working against different interests in this moment.
Yes. And that comes even more out into the open when um Lockhart Gardner decides to put 27 equity on the stand to kind of get to the question of what their interest is in this case. And the second they're put on the stand, Canning, who is on the same side now of the bench, like same side, objects. And Abernathy's like, you can't object to your own team. Like, and then that like signals to the pesticide lawyer, Jane lawyer. It's like, oh yeah, I object.
Yeah, it was like if you're with us on our Ellsworth coverage, like the
Yes.
last one of the last Ellsworth episodes we did was this inept lawyer and Ellsworth was on the jury and she kind of signals to the guy to object. It was really kind of funny because the lawyer for the J&L company like has no idea what he's doing, and so Canning objects is like, uh, the reason that this 27 equity guy is on the stand is because Canning has been presenting people with this document that pretty much
Right.
shows how much
Oh yeah.
J&L will at the end of the day how much they are willing to go. And so he showed that to the neighborhood which helped get people on his side. And so Will's like, actually, we can use that because one of the ladies told Alicia that's what they got. And like, let's use that document, the fact that he's showing this document against Canning. So they're basically saying like, so 27 equity, you funded Canning because Canning showed you that he can pay you guys back, or he can get money for you by showing you that J&L will pay. So I was like, oh yeah, and Canning's like, no, you can't use that. That's privilege. And Will's like, well, it wasn't so privileged when you were showing it off to other people, so I guess it's not privileged anymore. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
really smooth move by our people this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this whole time, the question of this lady Rosanna, who had been working with the class, had kind of come into play, and Alicia, again in Good Wife magic, found out that
Yeah,
Rosanna
just
had seen
that stroke of luck.
this piece of
Yeah.
paper. Yeah, yes, thank you for that. I skipped over that when I was reading my notes. Yeah, so that's why 27 equity is on the stand. They say that they gave Lewis Canning a $4 million loan to make this
Mm-hmm.
happen. So no wonder he has the fancy house. No wonder he can have the car. No wonder all of this stuff. Um, but Lewis Canning is still Lewis Canning. Again, do we see how this case resolves?
No, I think probably by the end of this, what we figure is that our people are going to take over the class
I think
action, and
so. Yeah.
this will probably like I don't know if we got a settlement at the end. This might actually go to court because we didn't hear anything about an actual settlement at the end of it.
Yeah. We do get a conversation between Canning and Alicia, where Alicia's so intrigued by Canning because he is like
Mhm.
really shrewd and really like I guess a good lawyer. I don't know. Like Alicia's always questioning, right? Like what's good and what's not good and stuff like that. And the fact that Canning exists in her world is something I think she's thinking about all the time. And he asks her, or she asks him, like, why are you so cynical? Like, why is this the life you chose? You could be doing so much good with your skills, basically.
Mhm.
Like, you could be doing something better. And Canning's response is, I think that companies should pay for their mistakes. I just think that they're paying too much for them. And I was like, Heart,
That was
heart. It's like hard to hear in 2025. Like that was a hard one.
yeah. And that's a really interesting stance to take because it's like it's such a hard thing to quantify. Like, in a situation like this, how can you really put a price on that? How can you put a price on losing the ability to, reproduce naturally?
Right. Right.
How is there a price to that? But apparently, Canning thinks that there is a price, and the companies are paying too much for these mistakes, which is like that is a cynical stance. I think like that's a cynical way to look at it because and it's like the one of the central questions of this episode was: is Canning authentic? Is he actually doing this for the client's best interest, or is he doing this for his own self
Himself.
interest to make money? So it's just like I feel like I'm still kind of up in the air. Like I feel like yes, Canning does have some amount of sympathy for these people, but at the same time, he's like, yeah, but you shouldn't get like $80 million for it. A couple millions. Probably good for you, right? Like you should take that. So it kind of leaves me in a weird place with Lewis Canning. I'm like, I still don't know what to think about this guy. He does have a little bit of sympathy. I do believe the whole thing about his wife miscarrying and all that.
Yeah.
He does have sympathy for these people, but it's like, yeah, but not a lot of sympathy. I got some sympathy, but yeah, you're asking a little too much. You're doing a little too much asking for this amount of money, which is really, really interesting.
Well, and I think it's such a smart casting decision to have Michael J. Fox play this character because we are going into this, like, at least me, anytime I see Michael J. Fox, my heart is like just expanding. I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's Michael J. Fox. I have such a connection to him. He's Marty McFly, like all of these things. He's been like part of my life ever since. And he's playing this character. Like, I don't know how to question him.
Totally.
I don't know how to look at him in this light. And so, I'm so used to cheering for him. What do I do when
Yeah.
he's playing a character that thinks that companies are paying too much for mistakes that leave people without the life that they wanted,
Yeah.
like
It's
how
that
do I
just
do that?
it's that juxtaposition of, like you said, Michael J. Fox, even if you're not familiar with him and grew up with him, he's got this like charisma and this boyish charm of like this great guy, but at the same time he's the snake. It's just like it's so weird to see, which is what makes a character so compelling and so great in this context. So I mean, however Michael J. Fox got on The Good Wife, bravo to The Good Wife for making this
Bravo.
character. Because I mean, and listen, this is just one of the many great characters we have that pop up from time to time. That whenever they're here, knocks out of the park. So I'm the second time we've seen Michael J. Fox again, really kind of leaving us conflicted on how to feel about Michael J. Fox and Lewis Canning in this moment.
Yeah, yeah, and it just shows that like he's a good actor. If I can think bad things
Yeah,
about
totally.
him as a person, way to go. Okay, so that was the case of the week. Of course, we also had movement in the firm. We have a conversation. Diana and Will decide to bring in David because they need the votes to get Bond out, right? And I just put in my notes, David's all for it, but then there was some unfortunate talking by white people.
By white people.
White people. By
The
white people.
whites.
They are saying all of the wrong words all of the
Yeah.
time. It was just a catastrophe, and I don't want to repeat any of it, but it was bad. It was bad.
I mean, it was funny though. It was funny. It's like because they're talking about sending a lynch mob out for Bond. They're like, oh, I shouldn't say a lynch mob. We're talking about a black man. Like, and
Well,
they're
and then
talking
we
like,
need to get this Native American woman back on the
yeah,
reservation.
yeah. Because I mean, when David said that, he got looks, and then when Diane says get him back on the reservation, David's like, is Nika like half Cherokee? Like, so if you're looking at me, I should be looking at you the same. You just kind of love the sliminess of David, but it's so fun at the same time. But
Yes.
yeah, and listen, I don't want to keep harping on it, but I feel like I do. Again,
What?
this was a whole plot made with Julius at one point.
Yes. No,
Is
agreed.
Julius is
Okay,
Julius here
hey. No, because
in the
Bond's here.
episode?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, though, he was mentioned that he needed a phone call. Okay. Like
Yeah,
they were gonna
but why
call
is
him.
but why isn't he in the room with us? Like it's so weird. But it's a
Is
trend
Julius
that
in the
we're
room with
seeing.
us?
Yeah, is the Julius you speak of here with us? But no, we see Bond or we see Julius. We don't see either of them in the same
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
It is obvious.
Yeah.
It is weird. It is crazy to me. It's just
Yeah.
like It's so annoying. It's so annoying. And
Yeah.
listen, when it stops, I will gladly stop talking about it. But
Well,
anytime it happens, I'm going to talk about it because the fact that Julius was so involved at one point and now he's gone and Derek is back is not. It's so transparent to me looking at it. I don't know if
yeah.
I tried to think of this at the time watching, but now it's just like it's so obvious, so in our face about it.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, maybe I'll do some research. I'm like, I hope that they talked about it at some point. Or maybe, you know what?
I
We'll find the kinks. Let me email from the good pod feedback.
no, no, you don't do that. We want we want
I
to get
want
them
an
on the
answer
podcast.
though.
We really want to
I
get them on
wanna
the podcast.
know.
We don't want to scare. If anything, we need to get them on the podcast. Then at the end of our interview with the Kings, we can be like, "Why are y'all so racist?" Like,
All right,
well, we
future
don't need
plans,
them
future
anymore.
plans.
Yeah,
Well, okay, so they're all set. They think they have all the votes. They got family law, they got like litigation, they got Will's people, they got Diane's people, they have Julius, apparently.
somewhere
Um,
in spirit,
yeah,
Joyce is here in spirit
yeah.
with us.
And it's the
It's not
quarterly
allowed.
partner. Well, I didn't even see him at this meeting. It's the quarterly
No,
partner
that's what I'm
meeting.
saying.
He
That's what
wasn't
I'm
even
saying.
there.
It's a meeting of the partners, of the equity partners, which Julius is one, and he's not there. But you know who is there? Bond is there. Bond and Julius cannot be in the same space for whatever reason. It's
Yeah, yeah.
weird.
I mean,
It's
well, we know
weird.
the reason, but it's weird.
We know the reason.
Um, yeah, so they open the meeting just like anyone would, like, yay, some guy's having twins, yay, great. And then Bond out of nowhere is like, how's the class action going? Like in front of Diane and Will, in front of everyone at
Yep.
the office, and Diane's like, it's in motion. We're moving. I don't know why you're bringing this up. Like, okay,
Because I
great.
heard there were problems, and I want everybody to hear about the problems you're
Yeah.
having so that they lose faith in you. Meanwhile, that's some big news.
Yeah, he's brought in Americans for Growth, $120 million bill basically, and everyone's super happy. I do love that David stays in his seat and like slow claps the situation.
Mhm.
But Diane and Will have to kind of like fake it here and be happy, and they can't really move forward with their plan because this was the day that they were going to call for a vote on Bond.
Yep.
So
Yeah. I love the look that Diane and Will share. They're like, should we pretend to be happy? Yeah, let's pretend to be happy. Okay, let's put our hands together for Derek, and we got it. Let's go back to the drawing board, basically.
yeah, yeah. So remember how I said there was nanny cam footage? This is where it comes into play in this storyline. Alicia brings the footage to Will and Diane because Canning is on camera saying that there is a partner war over at Lockhart Gardner. And normally, they'd be the firm you'd want to go with. But because there's a lot of turmoil, I don't know if I would trust them. And so Alicia just is being her Alicianess and is like, I brought this to you. I have no idea if it's true. Like any of this stuff. Diane's like, Will, did you say anything? He says no. So, and then I don't know why they're so surprised, but it's like, how did this get out? And Kalinda's like, there's a mole. And Diane's like, oh yeah, a mole.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think of that. Yeah.
Oh. So later in the episode, Bond, again, this like turn in Bond, it has been slow, but also still a little surprising to me. Like, I really don't know what his motive is other than just like world domination. But Bond goes up to Will and says, Will, I need you to take over the class action. Diane is getting too into her leftist politics. Like, Diane is not a leftist in any way, shape, or form. She is a Hillary Clinton moderate supporter. Like, she is, but she's a white feminist. There's a lot of things we could say about Diane,
Yep.
but she's not a leftist. But this is apparently something Bond does not like. And when questioned further, Bond tells Will, well, she wanted to get the deal up to 85 million. Now, this is something there have been no conversations about, but we do know because of what we found out earlier that there has been keystroke software on the computers. So this gets Will's alarm bells up. He's like, wait a minute. And he does like the best faking as he can. I swear to God, I think that all lawyers are theater kids. Like they have to do the best job. So he lets Bond think that, okay, I'm gonna take care of it. But then you see on his face is like, oh crap, like Bond's behind
Yeah.
this.
I mean, this is a whoa moment for everyone watching. Is like, oh, like this isn't Canning's keystroke software.
Yeah.
This is Bond's software. Bond is spying on our people. Like, what the hell? Like, we knew Bond was weird, but he's going above and beyond to be like really kind of secretive and duplicitous here. Like, whoa, like this is definitely a jaw drop. I'm like, oh my god, it was Bond. Bond is the one behind this.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Bond. And Kalinda confirms that the software was on multiple computers. And Will just wants to take his play that he played with Canning, which he thought he was playing with Canning, and use it to his advantage with Bond and get messages to go to kind of frame that Bond's like number one heroes and people that he can count on for votes are doing things that Bond doesn't like. So that way he would fire them and get rid of his votes.
Yeah, so that
So
again, just ingenious play by Will. But I do love that Clint, like, Clinton's talking to them like, well, it was only on certain people's computers. It was on this person, and Alicia. It's like, why is it on Alicia's computer? And Will's like, is it because of her closeness to me? It's like, oh, like we're just
must be, must
we're
be.
just kind of admitting that. Okay, interesting. I thought that was really really kind of funny. And the way that David Lee is like trying to dismiss Clinton. She's like, all right, thanks, Clinton, bye. And Will's like, no, no, no. You stay, you stay. It's like, it was interesting. I love how maniacal David gets. He's like, oh, this is fantastic. I love this. Like, he's like, how am I ever going to go back to the law after this? Because this is just so yummy. I love being so evil. It's basically how David's like is being in this moment. I love it. It's so funny.
Well, and I mean, I think this is based on what David does throughout the rest of the series and the next one. Like he picks up on this. Like this is something that fuels him and feeds
Yeah.
him as his character goes forward. This is like a little bit of his origin story, other than being a family lawyer who will do anything to win the case. Um, yes. So that was what was going on in the firm, and in the
Well, we see
what
that
else you got?
their email gambit is
Oh yeah,
working because we
yeah.
see Bond like firing someone that was supposed to be on Bond's side, but their fake email campaign really kind of got Bond to fire people that would have been on his side. So Bond is losing votes, which obviously helps our people because that kind of gains them votes at the same time.
And then did you see the backhanded high five between Will and
Oh, so sweet.
Diane? It was
It was
so
kind of like
cute.
a low five, almost handhold in a way of like,
Yeah.
yeah, girl, we did it. Let's like place the palms together. I was like, oh, that's so
I
sweet.
love it when mom and dad aren't fighting. Like it's so
Mom and dad.
fun.
Mom and dad are the best when they're together doing stuff
Yes.
because they have this like great friend chemistry, and it's always just like so sad when they're fighting. Like when they were lying to each other at that lunch a few episodes ago, I was like, no, mom and dad, don't do this. We love you
Don't do
together.
it. Don't do it. Yeah, so the plan is working. We shall see how that resolves probably in the next couple episodes. But we have some movement in the campaign. Last we heard, they fired the pack. That means where the pack goes, the money goes. They don't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
So the campaign is broke, but they do have money to hire 3 staff members. And who do they hire? They hire L to the OG, the number one boy from Succession, the eldest boy. I mean, Jeremy Strong. Like,
Now,
I really biffed that one. But yeah, Jeremy Strong from Succession is playing a pollster and getting involved with the campaign.
Now, I am not a Succession watcher, or was not a Succession watcher, I should say, but Marissa was very excited
Mm-hmm.
about this when
Mm-hmm.
it came up. She's like, "It's Jeremy Strong."
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Okay, yeah." Like I looked at him. I had no idea who he was. I was like, "Okay." I did my little guest star research. I was like, "Jeremy Strong. Where have I seen that name before?" I was like, "Oh yeah, Succession. He's the weird guy that everyone had a problem with on Succession because he was a method actor and was acting so
Yes.
weird on the set of Succession."
Yes.
I didn't watch Succession, but I heard about how weird he was on the set of Succession.
Do you know of the word dramaturgically?
No, what is that?
Okay. 'Cause he was giving an interview once about Succession and it was like just like dramaturgically that made sense. Like that was
Word.
like a word. So no, like it dramaturgically it made sense that he was playing this pollster in this situation.
This makes you think, what was he doing on the set as a poster, like to annoy his fellow people?
Exactly.
Was he taking surveys all day out on downtime when they're not shooting?
Oh my goodness. I was so excited to see him. And especially like it's like little baby Jeremy Strong. Like before, I'm sure he's not in his full weirdness, you know? Like he's still probably a little
Mhm.
weird, but he's not like he hasn't fully evolved. But anywho, so he's here playing a pollster, and basically they're trying to see if they can get him on his side because apparently swearing made Peter appealing to the under 30 crowd. This is going after the youth vote, and they want to get Jeremy Strong. What's his actual character's name? Like what? Matt
Uh,
Becker wants
yeah,
to
yeah.
get Matt Becker on the team because he was let go from his old job. So he's basically like, you can get back at your old people and you can help us at the same time. They talk about the youth vote and also the fact that the youth vote generally doesn't show up unless there's something on the ballot for them. And just lo and behold, there is a marijuana measure on the ballot this time. So think they can kind of get things going. And Matt says, you also have something else. Like Wendy is Donna Reed Black, but you went to prison. Like,
Lord.
what?
I was like, oh my God, did not just say that. And he goes, yeah, you also went to prison. And, because you went to prison, that makes you hard. I was like, oh,
So,
I got
but that is something that Kendall on Survivor on Succession would say. He would say those things. Like he is still the same person in my mind.
it. Just
Anywho,
made me think about that Kevin Hart Will Ferrell movie Get Hard, where like Kevin Hart just has to teach Will Ferrell how to be hard in prison. I was like,
yeah.
Peter is Will Ferrell levels of hard in prison.
But did you notice how that like Peter's like, yeah, I did go to
Yeah, I am
prison.
hard. Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
right.
yeah, that's
I'm a
right.
gangster. Yeah.
So Peter takes this as his new mission. He goes to speak to the youth and about marijuana. At the same time, like this is like a speech that should be like going wild, being all everywhere on the internet. But at the same time, a supporter has made a marching band video that is getting more views and more hits than Peter's speech. This is bad news because you don't want to look unhip. I have to say, justice for marching bands. We are not unhip, but also I see your
Marissa,
point.
I feel like you did a couple of these videos for Hillary back in the day. I feel like this was your thing. This is definitely a Marissa Garza move. I think you probably had some stuff on YouTube. I gotta go back and look.
Yeah, go check it
Um,
out.
yeah, but this guy, Neil Howard Sloan Jacob, a hyphenated last name, which is like that seems dead on. Played by Christopher Seibert, who was Lord Farquaad in the Shrek the Musical.
Ah,
Uh, but for me, also famous as the dad from Two of a Kind, the Ashley and
yep.
Mary Kate Olsen
Mary Kate.
jam
Yep.
back in the day. I was like, where is that guy? Where have I seen that guy? And I did my research. I was like, oh, it's that guy. I know that guy. I remember that guy. So yeah, it's he's definitely that guy.
Yeah, he's definitely a that guy. And they're like worried about this video. And Peter comes in, he's like, I know what I'm gonna do. And they're like, what about this video? He's like, no, I'm gonna talk to a guy I met in prison.
Eli's face is like, oh no.
Okay. Eli then goes to talk to the supporter guy and basically offers him like a quote unquote position to be the liaison to the political director. And like Neil, he is taken aback. He's like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing that could ever happen to me. This is so fantastic. And Eli's asking him like, but can I just like ask why? Like, why do you care this much? Like, why are you so involved? And this guy's a music teacher, and he said that Peter came to school talking about bullying and that like his words moved people and changed people. And then he said something that no music teacher would ever say. He said, music cannot do that. Music can for sure change people. I just have to say that. And music can heal a lot of people and a lot of things. There is a lot of science behind it. But anywho, I don't think that guy should be the music teacher anymore. If he says that music
It's
can't do that, that's what I have to say about that.
I like it was like it changed so many people's attitudes in the school, even if only for a few days. But it did something for those few days. It's like that's very definitely school adjacent. It's like yeah, I met you for like a day or two, and they went back to being
Yeah.
awful.
Yeah. Yeah. But
But it
so
was
he's
so it was so earnest, but it really felt weird. Like I don't know what that was there for.
I don't
Is it
know
just
either.
Is it
I
to kind of
mean,
show that Peter's a
is
good
Peter
guy?
a
Is this
changed
more of
man?
well, it felt like this was something that Peter did before he went to jail,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
which
yeah,
is
yeah,
is the inference I got. But
yeah.
is this to show us that Peter is this Peter propaganda? Is this Peter
Everything is, in my
image
mind.
image changing? That we're supposed to think Peter's such a good guy. He came and gave this great advice to these students. It just felt like an earnest moment where I didn't expect one to be. I don't
Yeah,
know.
agreed. So Eli comes back to the office and he finds that Peter is talking to someone in the office. I was not expecting this. Were you
Not at
expecting
all.
this?
No. I was like, Method Man. I was like, Method Man, what are you doing here? Like, listen, Method Man is a legit actor. Like,
Yes.
yes, he
Yes.
came to us as from the group Wu Tang. He's a rapper famous for How High, which is basically just him and Redman getting high the whole movie.
Yep.
Yes, that was where he started, but this man is a legit actor now. So while I shouldn't be that surprised, I was shocked. I was like, Method Man, what are you doing here? But yes, Peter has met Method Man, aka in this universe, his name is Young Boxer. Okay. You can tell who wrote this. It's like,
Yeah.
gotcha,
Yeah.
Young Boxer. So yeah, I was floored. I was like, Method Man, oh my god.
Well, and they're just like, shooting the shit about being in jail. Like, they're just like, and Peter's like, well, apparently Peter had given Method Man some advice to like some legal advice that helped him out. And so now Method Man, aka Young Boxer, wants to help Peter in kind. And Peter's like, yeah, I just think we could do an interview. Method Man's like, I was thinking like a fundraiser. And Eli like pops through the door. Like, what do
Fundraiser.
you say about a
Money? Is
fundraiser?
that money I smell?
So apparently there will be a concert held at one point. I'm sure they will
That
keep Method Man on to do said concert.
yeah, I guess that was like a fun little Peter like segment
Yeah.
this episode. Like there was nothing too serious. It was just kind of like a comedic Peter moment in this
Yeah.
episode.
I suppose. Um
Nothing half star worthy here. Like
no. Just like
yeah.
hmm. Meanwhile, this whole time, there's been stuff going on with Tammy. Okay, like Tammy showed up at the office, like, and Alicia was there, and then went into this whole thing like, I don't know what I want. I think Tammy and Will are starting to catch feels, and they don't know
Yes.
what to do about it. So Tammy is like freaking out. Alicia tells Tammy at one point, I think it's better to remain friends. That's what I found.
Oh, Alicia, Alicia, we see you, Alicia. You're not hiding from us. We see what you're doing. Like,
Like,
and
what?
that's so messed up too, because Alicia's trying to get Tammy off of Will. Like, but you're not gonna do that with Will, are you, Alicia? Like, you don't have any plans, but you still out here
Right.
trying to meddle in the Tammy Will thing. I was like, I see you, Alicia, and your
Yeah.
your connivingness. I see you.
So then after that conversation, Tammy's like, tells Will when he gets home, I have a date with a South African soccer player. And Will's like, are you breaking up with me? I'm not falling in love with you. And she's like, no, I'm putting things on pause. Like, we're going out. That's just thing. I'll come back to you in February or something.
Yeah,
Like it
like
was
giving like a 30-day cool off period. Like, yeah, we're gonna
yeah.
take a break. I mean, basically, like you said, Tammy is starting to catch feelings, even though she insisted to Will that she wasn't going to catch feelings. He's not allowed to catch feelings. She's obviously catching feelings because Will has kind of let work get in the way of them, and she's feeling a little neglected. So she's like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe let me get out of this before I catch too much feelings." And Will's obviously not feeling the same way about me because he's letting work get in the way of our thing. So I
Yeah.
think this
I
is
mean,
this
how
is her
many
protecting herself. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen so many scenes of them like in bed and then he leaves because Alicia has called in some way, shape, or form. Even
Mhm.
earlier in this episode, they were like they built a fort in the in the living room,
Yeah.
and they were like doing stuff. And she's like, "I think you have a gay lover," and he's like, "Yeah, I'll bring him over sometime." Like there was
Yeah.
like there's stuff going on, but also after Tammy puts things on pause, Will is like completely out of it. Like he is distracted to the max. He doesn't know what's going on. And Alicia is in his office asking him about the class action suit and how much they should settle for. And he does not know how to answer the question. And he responds with, I don't know what I want. I'm very good when I know what I want, but I don't know what I want. And Alicia's like, what are we talking about? What is going
Alicia's
on?
like,
Because,
are we talking about work? Are we talking about,
well,
something
because
else?
there's been that like hanging conversation, right? Like we'll
Yeah.
talk when things are not as crazy. And they still haven't had that conversation. So Alicia's like, oh, is this my in? Is this a time?
Yeah, Alicia's like, you talking about me? Little does she know that Will's at the moment cut up about Tammy. Like that's what he's thinking
Tammy.
about, Alicia, not you. It's about Tammy, okay? And I like
Yeah.
Will's like, it's like, yeah. He's like, I need a fat buddy to tell things to and get drunk with. I was like, okay, interesting. I mean, listen,
Yeah, that was not great.
you had that guy, the alderman guy, but he's crooked now. Now who are you gonna tell all your secrets to, Will? Your buddy probably is in prison by now. Um,
Well, and
so you don't
I
have that
liked
fat buddy anymore.
Alicia was like, I'll work on that. Like I'll try to do
Yeah.
that. But in the end, Tammy does come back to Will at the end. I was like, I can't be away from you for too long. Like, I don't like this. I don't like meeting you. We're not in a relationship. I'm just giving you preferential treatment.
Yeah. Still not trying to be a
So,
commitment. Just preferential treatment. Like, okay. And we also learned
yeah.
there was no actual South African soccer star.
No,
We made
yeah,
all that
that's
up.
true. Yeah. Yeah. So things are moving for them. And then the episode ends with Alicia and Peter in bed. And Peter says, this is what about his day. And then Alicia says, ha ha ha, my day. The end.
Marissa, I thought you were just going to leave that out completely. So kudos to you for actually even bringing it up. But yeah, listen, we see the aftermath of last episode where Alicia just leaves the door open. So they're back in bed together. Who knows if they're
Okay.
doing other stuff?
But let's analyze the situation. Peter is all like, he is at home in this bed, right? Like, he's just like, Alicia is like bundled, like, she does not want to move. Like, she's like freaked out a little bit. She's like, I don't know what to do here. I don't know what's right. And Peter's just trying to make it like normal by saying, like, hey, so a young boxer is going to give me it's going
my
to give me
boy,
a concert, and I'm
my
cool with
boy,
the
young boxer.
cool kids now. And how was your day? And she's just like, we're really doing this. And also, this is what he just said to me. Like, I feel
Nah,
like,
I think she's fine. I think she's okay. Like he's like he tells her like, I'm hip now. She's like, I never thought you weren't hip. So I mean, I think she's okay with it. I think the laugh at the end, because Alicia just like breaks out laughing.
she does.
Uh because I think it's part of like how do we end up back here? Like I thought for sure we were never going to get back to this point where we're in bed together talking about our days. Like
Yeah.
it's
Well,
just so
yeah.
laughable that we're back here in this moment. Like I think at one point Alicia never thought this would be that they'd come back to this moment. I think that's what the laugh is. I think that's what the laugh is. At
I
first I
think
was
that's what
confused.
the
I was
laugh
like,
is.
why
Yeah.
is she laughing? And I was like, yeah, I think she's just like she finds it funny that we're just it's a cyclical motion. Like we're back in bed talking about our day again.
I guess, Alicia, if that's what you want to do, that's
Yeah, I know it probably
fine.
burned you up. You were pissed.
I wrote one line about it in my notes, okay? Like, and it ended in ugh.
Oh man, yeah, that's the episode for this week. A lot of things going on, a lot of intertwining things going on. Like I don't even think it was ever really confirmed. Is Bond informing Canning about things? Like is Bond talking to Canning? How did
Oh,
Canning know?
I it was not confirmed, but I think we are to infer this because I do think the whole like, hey, how's that class action going in front of the entire firm was because
Oh
he's the one causing the bumps. Like he's the
yes,
one
okay,
throwing interference into their
yeah.
way. I think that's what we're supposed to infer. I'm sure they'll talk about it more as they find out more stuff, but that's what I took away from it.
I think it makes sense that Bond is using Canning to undercut Diane because Diane is technically the head of this, even though Will is part of it. Diane is taking
Yeah.
the lead on it. So it would make sense that he's using Canning and giving him information to undercut Diane and her efforts to make her look bad so that she doesn't get votes in the partnership struggle. That makes total sense. And
And
I see that
he
now.
thinks he's doing it for him and Will, right? Like he
Right.
thinks at
Right.
this point, he still thinks that Will's on his side and on his team when Will has already flipped to the other side. These people could play Survivor.
Oh, totally. I would love that. I would love if you could pull casts to Survivor, this would be a fantastic Survivor cast. Like you
It
got
would.
David Lee, who is the comedic relief. You got Diane, who is a strong older woman that no one thought would make it, but she's going to make it to the final three probably, and probably get 0 votes. But either way, she still was impressive. Um,
Maybe we should do that at some point. We should do a fake Survivor game and see what happens.
that would be fun. That'd be very fun. And like, just I don't want to do a Brand Steel though. I kind of want to like write the season and be like
Go for
and
it.
say what happens. That would be interesting.
Yeah.
Because you have so many different quirky personalities here that would fit into a Survivor season. That would be a lot of fun, actually. But listen, enough dream casting about things we will probably never do. Um,
But
but
it's fun. It's fun to dream.
it's fun to talk about. It's fun to think about. Marissa, do you want to tell the
Yeah.
good folk out in the good pod landville island, whatever, what you are up to, where they can find you nowadays?
So definitely on Blue Sky at It's Me Marissa G. I still have an Instagram and Threads account, but it is not on my phone. So I will update people, but I will not be as responsive there. Um, but otherwise, it's me, Marissa G, pretty much everywhere. Whether I'm active there or not has yet to be seen, given on the constant evolution of our environment.
There you go. If you want to find me, I am on the Blue Sky as well at JR33D. As far as podcast goes, always check in on me to see what podcasts I'm podcasting about because I'm always kind of all over the place. I'm everywhere. But you can definitely find me on the Perfect Match podcast talking about the show I'm Ready for a Sight with my co-host Asia Welch. We have a blast over there. You don't even have to watch the show to follow along with our coverage. It's that much fun. So check me out there. And until next time, stay good.